Welcome to African Folktales by D. Elinas. Hit that subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, and tell us in the comments where you're joining us from. Don't forget to turn on notifications so every story comes straight to you. People in Umuaka village still talk about the day my family almost broke apart. They say trouble does not shout when it enters a home. It walks in quietly, like a guest you trust. Me name is Nkem. I was the elder daughter. My younger sister, Ifananya, and I grew up in the same house, but not in the same piece. Our late mother left behind one secret, and that secret followed us like a shadow bear. She died. She called only Ifananya into her room. I was outside fetching water. When I returned, Mama was gone, and my sister's eyes looked different, like someone who had swallowed a story too heavy to speak. Years later, I married Emeka, a gentle carpenter known for his patience. Our home was small but warm. We shared laughter, food, and quiet evenings on the veranda. People said our marriage was blessed. Ifunya lived with us after father died. She was beautiful, quick in speech, and restless in spirit. She helped in the house, but her eyes often lingered where they should. No Tony night, during a heavy rain, she stood at my doorway and asked softly, "Sister, do you believe love can be taken from one person and given to another?" I laughed. Fini did not know she was asking for a reason. Life in our compound followed a simple rhythm. Emeka left early for his workshop near the village square. I opened my small provisions table in front of the house. Ifananya helped with cooking and errands. From the outside, we looked like a peaceful family, but small changes began to appear. The kind people usually ignore. Emeka started returning home quieter than before. He would sit on the wooden bench, staring at nothing, as if trying to remember something he had forgotten. When I asked what was wrong, he always smiled and said, "Work was long today." One evening, I noticed Ifananya watching him closely while he washed his hands in the basin. Her expression was not warm or sisterly. It was searching. Measuring that same week, I began waking at night with a strange heat in my chest. Not pain, just a heavy warmth that made breathing difficult. It would pass after some minutes, leaving me weak, but awake. I told myself it was stress. An afternoon, while arranging goods on my table, I heard Ifananya speaking softly behind the house. I thought she was on the phone. But when I went to check, she stood alone near the old storage box Mama once used. Quickly shut the lid when she saw me just cleaning. She said her smile came to fasten for the first time. Uneasiness settled quietly inside my heart. The first real crack appeared on a market day. I returned home earlier than usual because business was slow. As I entered the compound, I heard voices inside the house. Emeka and Ifananya were talking in low tones. I could not hear the words clearly, but their voices stopped the moment my footsteps sounded on the veranda. When I stepped inside, they were standing apart, both quiet. "You're back early," Emeka said. Forcing a smile, "Yes," I replied, studying their faces. "The sun was too harsh today." Ifananya picked up a tray and walked past me quickly. She avoided my ice that night. Emeka barely touched his food. He seemed distracted, responding late when I spoke. When I reached for his hand, he withdrew gently, as if the gesture surprised him. "Are you worried about money?" I asked softly. He shook his head. "No, I just feel tired." Later, as we prepared to sleep, that same heavy warmth returned to my chest. I sat up, breathing slowly. Emeka woke and watched me with concern. "Should we go to the clinic tomorrow?" he asked. Before I could answer, Ifananya appeared at the doorway with a cup of water. I heard movement. She said calmly, "Drink this. It will help." Her voice was kind, but something about her quick arrival unsettled me. Had come too fast. As I drank, I wondered how long she had been awake and listening. The next morning, I insisted I was fine and opened my provisions table as usual. Business was steady, but my mind was not. I kept replaying the night in my head, the sudden heat, Emeka's distant eyes, and Ifananya appearing before anyone called her. When I returned home in the afternoon, I found Emeka sitting under the mango tree, his tools untouched beside him. "You didn't go to work?" I asked. He rubbed his forehead slowly. "I went, but I forgot why I walked there. I stood outside the workshop for a long time." "That has never happened before," I said gently. He looked embarrassed. "Maybe I'm just tired." From the doorway, Ifananya watched us. She stepped forward with a calm smile. "I told you both," she said. "The weather has been too hot. Heat affects the body and the mind." Her explanation sounded reasonable, yet something in her tone felt rehearsed. That evening, while sweeping the backyard, I noticed the old storage box again. Its lid was slightly open. Inside lay Mama's faded wrapper, and beneath it, a small cloth bundle tied tightly with red thread. I reached toward it behind me. Ifananya's voice cut through the air. Sister, please don't touch that. Her voice was soft, but firm enough to stop my hand midair. I withdrew my hand slowly and turned to face Ifananya. She walked closer and shut the box with careful fingers, as if sealing something fragile inside. It is just Mama's old things, she said. Memories should rest where they are. Her calmness did not comfort me. It made my questions louder. That night, rain fell softly on the zinc roof. Emeka slept early, but I remained awake, listening. Around midnight, I heard quiet movement outside our room. The floor creaked gently, then stopped. I opened the door a little. The corridor was dark, but I saw light from the back room, the small room where the storage box was kept. He walked closer through the half-open door. I saw Ifananya kneeling on the floor. The cloth bundle lay before her. She was not praying. She was simply staring at it, breathing slowly, as if gathering courage. She sensed me and turned quickly. Sister, she said, standing at once. You should be sleeping. So should you. I replied. We held each other's gaze in silence. From that night, peace in the house began to feel like something we were pretending to have, and pretending takes effort. Days passed, but the quiet tension remained. Emeka tried to return to normal, yet something subtle had shifted. He became unusually attentive to Ifananya's opinions, asking her about meals, errands, even small household decisions he once discussed only with me. Was not disrespect. It was unfamiliar. One afternoon, while I sorted rice in the kitchen, I heard laughter from the veranda. When I stepped out, Emeka and Ifananya were seated close, sharing roasted corn. Their conversation stopped immediately. Join us, Emeka said warmly. He smiled and sat. But the warmth did not reach my chest that evening. The heavy heat returned stronger than before. My hands trembled slightly. Emeka helped me lie down. His concern was real, yet distant, like someone caring for a neighbor rather than a wife. Ifananya brought water again. You must avoid stress, she advised calmly. Your body reacts quickly. How do you always know when it happens? I asked quietly. She paused only for a second. I listen, she replied. This house speaks. Her answer was simple. Yet something in it unsettled me more than any illness could. Because houses do not speak, but secrets do. A week later, the village women gathered for a naming ceremony nearby. I decided to attend, hoping the noise and company would clear my mind. Emeka remained at work, and Ifananya stayed home to rest. The celebration was lively. Drums echoed, children ran freely, and neighbors spoke of ordinary things: harvest, prices, marriages. For a few hours, my worries loosened their grip. When I returned at dusk, the compound gate stood slightly open inside. I found Emeka sitting alone on the bench, staring at the ground. Your back, he said slowly, as if surprised. Yes, where is Ifananya? He hesitated. She went to fetch water. I think his uncertainty felt strange. He was never unsure of simple things. Later that night, he spoke while half asleep. I didn't mean to say that, he murmured. Say what? I asked gently. I frowned in confusion. I don't remember. Sleep returned to him quickly. But not to me. Because a person does not apologize for words they cannot recall unless something inside them feels wrong, and something did. The following morning, I went to the clinic in the neighboring village. The nurse checked my blood pressure, temperature, and pulse. Everything was normal. You are healthy, she assured me. But stress can create strong physical feelings. Rest more. Her explanation was reasonable. Yet it did not explain Emeka's confusion or Ifananya's watchful presence. When I returned home, I found Ifananya washing clothes behind the house. She greeted me warmly, but her eyes searched my face carefully. Did the nurse find anything? She asked. No, I replied. She nodded slowly, almost thoughtful. That evening, Emeka returned with a small gift, a wrapper cloth for Ifananya. She helps a lot, he explained. When he saw my surprise, kindness was natural. Yet something about the gesture felt misplaced. Like a sentence spoken in the wrong conversation during dinner. I noticed the cloth bundle again, now missing from the storage box. He said nothing but silence. When held too long, grows heavy enough to demand answers, and mine were coming. The following days felt normal on the surface, but small details refused to settle. Emeka became more forgetful. He misplaced tools, repeated questions, and sometimes stopped mid-sentence as if searching for missing thoughts. An evening, while we ate quietly, he suddenly asked, "Did we discuss selling part of the land?" I looked up, confused. "No. Why would we?" He blinked, unsettled. I thought, "Never mind, Ifananya. seated beside him, spoke calmly. "You have been overworking. Rest will clear your mind." Her voice was soothing, almost practiced. Later that night, I went to the backyard to fetch water. Through the thin window of the storage room, I saw light again. I did not enter. Instead, I watched Euphemia sat on the floor with the cloth bundle before her. She untied the red thread carefully and removed something small wrapped in white fabric. She held it with both hands, eyes closed, breathing slowly. There was no chanting, no ritual, just intense focus. Wrapped it again and hid it when she sensed movement. When she stepped outside and saw me, her expression hardened for a brief moment before softening into a smile. "Couldn't sleep?" she asked. "Neither could you," I replied. Truth stood between us, unspoken but growing heavier each day. 2 mornings later, Emeka failed to open his workshop. A neighbor brought his tools back to the house, saying he had left them outside without notice. When Emeka returned home, he looked ashamed. "I walked to the stream," he explained slowly. "I don't remember deciding to go there." His honesty worried me more than excuses would have it. That afternoon, I found Euphemia in the kitchen preparing herbal tea. The scent was unfamiliar. "It helps calm the nerves," she said gently. Handing a cup to Emeka, "Drink slowly." He obeyed without hesitation. He watched quiet lighter. I tasted the remaining tea. It was mild, slightly bitter, but not harmful. Still, something about her increasing role in his comfort unsettled me deeply. That evening, I spoke to her directly. "You care for him, as if he were your responsibility," I said carefully. She met my gaze without flinching. "He is family. When one person is weak, another must support." Her words were reasonable. Her tone was not. That night, Emeka slept deeply. I remained awake, listening to the quiet breathing in the house. Should feel light. Hours felt heavy, and I was beginning to understand that silence can hide more than noise ever could. The turning point came quietly. Without warning, you returned from the market earlier than expected. The compound gate was closed, but I heard movement inside the house. As I stepped into the corridor, I saw Emeka sitting on the bench, eyes closed. Breathing slowly, Euphemia stood before him. Speaking softly, "You must choose what gives you peace," she said. "I don't understand what I'm choosing," he replied weakly. "You will," she answered calmly. He stepped forward. The sound of my footsteps broke the moment. Emeka opened his eyes, confused. "Nkem, when did you return?" "Just now," I replied. Euphemia smiled gently, but her eyes searched mine carefully. "Later, while sweeping the veranda, I noticed something new, the red thread from the cloth bundle tied loosely around the leg of the bench where Emeka often sat. Removed it slowly and held it in my palm. It was ordinary thread, yet nothing about it felt ordinary. That evening, as we prepared for bed, Emeka held my hand and whispered, "Stay close to me tonight." His voice carried fear. He could not explain it in that moment. I knew the secret Mama left behind was no longer hidden. It had entered our daily life, and it was beginning to demand a choice. I kept the red thread hidden inside my wrapper that night. It felt foolish to fear something so small, yet I could not ignore where I found it. Next morning, I woke before sunrise. The house was silent. Emeka slept deeply beside me. When I stepped into the corridor, I saw faint light from the storage room again. This time, I did not hesitate. I entered. Quiet. Live cloth bundle lay open on the floor. Inside was a small smooth object wrapped in white cloth. It looked like a polished stone, dark and cool to the touch. Before I could study it longer, Euphemia's voice came from the doorway. "Sister, please leave it." Her tone was calm but strained. "What is it?" I asked. Edge walked forward slowly. "Something Mama kept. It is not important now. If it is not important, why hide it?" I pressed. She paused. For a moment, her composure broke, revealing fear, not for herself, but of something larger than both of us. "Some things bring trouble when opened," she said quietly. Wrapped the object again and stepped away. "But fear does not disappear when avoided." It waits. And in our home, waiting had become a habit. That afternoon, Emeka insisted on returning to his workshop. He wanted routine, something steady to hold on to. I supported him, though worrying followed every step he took. To return before sunset. Exhausted but clear-minded. "I felt normal today," he said with relief. For a moment, hope returned. Bed. As we prepared dinner, Euphemia watched him closely, as if measuring a change only she understood. During the meal, she spoke gently. "You should rest early again tonight," she suggested. "Strength comes with calm." Emeka nodded, trusting her advice. Later, while washing plates together, I spoke quietly. "You care deeply about his well-being," I said. She continued scrubbing, eyes lowered. "I care about this family." Her answer was simple, but something inside it felt unfinished at that night. The heavy warmth in my chest returned briefly, then faded faster than before. It was weaker, like a shadow losing strength. I realized something then: whatever disturbed our home did not grow steadily, it rose and fell. Like influence being applied and withdrawn, and influence requires intention. He was no longer searching for signs, he was searching for truth. 2 days later, truth arrived unexpectedly. An elderly neighbor, Mama Ijeoma, visited in the afternoon. She had known our mother for many years and rarely spoke without purpose. After greeting us, she asked quietly, "Has anyone opened Eddie's old belongings recently?" My heart tightened. "Why do you ask?" I replied, studied my face carefully. "Your mother once told me she regretted keeping something she should have discarded. She feared it would disturb her daughters one day." Ifananya froze beside the doorway. Mama Ijeoma continued gently. She said it carried emotional weight, not power, not magic, but memory strong enough to influence weak hearts. Silence filled the room after she left. I turned to my sister. "Is that what you're protecting?" I asked softly. Ifanya's voice trembled for the first time. Mama believed objects can hold attachment. She told me to keep it hidden, so no one would depend on it. Depend on what? She did not answer, but her silence finally confirmed one truth: she was not protecting the object, she was protecting what it made people feel. That evening, Emeka sat with me under the mango tree. The air was calm, the compound quiet. "I want to understand what's happening," he said slowly. "Sometimes I feel guided by emotions that are not fully mine." His honesty steadied me. "You are not alone," I replied. Looked at me carefully. "Have you noticed changes in Ifananya?" I hesitated, choosing my words carefully. "She carries something from Mama she has not shared," I said. "Something tied to memory and attachment." He nodded slowly, as if this explained a confusion he had long felt, but could not name it that moment. Ifananya stepped into the yard. Her face looked tired, but determined. "I cannot keep this hidden anymore," she said quietly. She placed the cloth bundle on the table between us. "Mama believed strong longing can influence choices when people are weak," she continued. "She warned me never to use this object, to hold on to what was not freely given." Emeka and I exchanged a glance. Ifanyanya's voice broke softly. "I think I made a mistake by keeping it at all." And with that admission, the secret finally stepped fully into the light. None of us spoke for several seconds after Ifanyanya's confession. The evening air felt heavy, like the compound itself was listening. "What does it do?" Emeka asked quietly. Ifananya shook her head slowly. "It does nothing on its own." But Mama believed people can attach their feelings to objects. When someone focuses on that feeling again and again, it becomes stronger. She warned me never to hold it when my heart was not at peace. I understood then. This was not about power. It was about influence through emotion. "Why keep it?" I asked gently, her eyes filled with regret. "Because I was afraid of letting go of things I never truly had." Her honesty softened and my anger. But it did not erase the harm already done. That night, we agreed on one thing. The object would be removed from the house at sunrise. For the first time in many weeks, we spoke openly. No accusations, only truth, and truth, though painful, brought a strange kind of relief. But relief is not repair. Repair takes time, and trust, once shaken, does not return simply because the secret is revealed. Morning arrived quietly. The sky was pale, the air cool. Ifananya carried the wrapped object with both hands. Emeka and I walked beside her to the edge of the farmland, where old items were often buried or discarded. She hesitated before kneeling. "I never meant to cause harm," she said softly. "You caused confusion." Emeka replied gently, "Not cruelly. But confusion can be corrected." She placed the bundle into the earth and covered it carefully. No ceremony, no drama. Just a choice to release what should never have been held. In the walk home, silence remained between us, but it no longer felt threatening. That afternoon, Emeka returned from his workshop with steady steps and clear eyes. He remembered conversations fully. He laughed without hesitation. Change was subtle, but undeniable. Later that evening, I realized something else. With heavy warmth in my chest did not return for the first time. My body felt entirely my own again, yet peace was fragile. Backos, healing the heart requires more than removing the cause of harm. It requires rebuilding what was weakened. Days passed without strange incidents. Routine slowly returned to our home. Still, emotional distance remained. On evening, while preparing dinner, Ifananya spoke quietly beside me. "I should leave," she said. "You deserve peace without uncertainty." Her voice held no resentment, only acceptance. I paused, considering her words carefully. "Leaving will not erase what happened," I replied gently. "But staying requires honesty and boundaries." She nodded. Then I will follow what you decide. That night, Emeka and I spoke privately. Trust can be rebuilt, he said, but not without clarity. We agreed that Ifunanya would remain temporarily while arranging her own place nearby. Support would remain, but roles would be clear the next morning. When we shared this decision, Ifunanya accepted without argument. Did not come immediately at something important returned. Balance and perfect balance, just enough to begin again, and sometimes beginning again is the bravest act a family can choose. With new boundaries in place, the atmosphere in the house changed gradually. Conversations became simpler. Actions became clearer. No one watched anyone else with suspicion. One afternoon, while arranging goods at my table, I noticed Emeka approach with a small smile. I feel like myself again, he said quietly. His words carried weight beyond their simplicity. That evening, we invited Mama Ijeoma to visit. We thanked her for her earlier warning and shared what had happened. She listened carefully, then spoke gently. Objects do not control people, she said, but attachment can cloud judgment. The greatest danger is not what we hold in our hands, but what we refuse to release in our hearts. Her wisdom settled deeply within me after she left. Ifunanya approached me slowly. I am sorry, she said, voice steady but soft. Not only for what I did, but for what I allowed myself to feel without confronting it honestly. I studied her face, not searching for guilt, but for sincerity. Found it. Forgiveness did not arrive fully in that moment, but its door opened, and sometimes an open door is enough. Weeks later, Ifunanya moved into a small rented room near the market. The separation was peaceful, not forced. She visited often, but always with respect for boundaries we had rebuilt carefully. One evening, as Emeka and I sat under the mango tree, he spoke thoughtfully. I was never controlled, he said slowly. I was confused because I allowed influence without questioning it. That is my responsibility. His self-awareness, strength, and my own understanding. We had all played a part. Through silence, assumption, or fear of confrontation, family harmony had not been broken by a secret alone. It had been weakened by what remained unspoken that night. As I prepared for sleep, I noticed something simple yet meaningful. The house felt quiet in a natural way, not tense quiet, not watchful quiet, just peace. And for the first time, I understood the true lesson Mama tried to leave behind. Secrets do not destroy families, silence does, but truth, even when painful, gives people a chance to choose each other again. Time moved forward in gentle steps. Our home no longer felt like a place holding its breath. Emeka worked with steady focus again. I returned fully to my daily routine. Ordinary life, once taken for granted, now felt precious. Ifuna visited one afternoon carrying fresh vegetables from the market. Her presence was calm, respectful, and measured. She no longer lingered unnecessarily, and her words carried care. Without urgent, signs sat together beneath the mango tree, sharing roasted groundnuts. For the first time in many months, conversation flowed naturally. I am learning to live with what is mine, she said quietly. Not what I wished was mine. Her growth did not erase the past, but it showed change was possible. Later that evening, Emeka spoke thoughtfully. Peace is not something we find, he said. It is something we protect. His words stayed with me long after night fell. House was quiet, but not empty. It was filled with choice, the daily decision to trust, to speak honestly, and to release what cannot be held. And I realized healing had not arrived suddenly, it had grown slowly, the way true peace always does. One morning, I opened the old storage room fully for the first time since everything changed. Dust covered the shelves, but nothing inside carried fear anymore. I folded Mama's remaining wrappers carefully and placed them in a wooden chest. Memories no longer felt dangerous. They felt complete. As I worked, I remembered her final days, her quiet worrying, her unfinished words. Her hope that we would learn what she could not fully explain had not left us a curse, had left us a warning. Later that day, I visited Ifunanya in her new room near the market. The space was simple, but orderly. She had begun helping a tailor nearby, learning skills with patience and humility. I want a life built on what I earn, she told me, not on what I fear losing. I saw strength in her then, not the restless strength of desire, but the steady strength of acceptance. When I returned home, I told Emeka what she said, nodded quietly. Growth is the best apology, and in that moment, I understood something clearly. Families are not destroyed by mistakes, they are destroyed only when growth refuses to follow truth. Months passed. The story of our family slowly faded from village gossip, replaced by new concerns and ordinary news. Peace became routine again. On evening, during a light rainfall, Emeka and I sat on the veranda watching water gather along the earth. The air smelled clean and new. "Do you ever fear what happened will return?" he asked gently. Considered his question carefully. "No," I answered, "because we no longer hide from what we feel." Honesty had become our safeguard. Later that week, Ifeananya joined us for dinner. Conversation was warm, balanced, respectful. She spoke of her work. Emeka shared plans for expanding his workshop. I listened, grateful for simple harmony before leaving. She paused at the doorway. "Thank you for not turning me into my worst mistake," she said softly. I embraced her quietly. Forgiveness had not erased memory, but it had removed its power too. Wound in that difference changed everything. That night, I slept deeply without fear, knowing our family had not returned to what it once was. It had become something stronger, something chosen. Years from now, people may forget the details of what happened in our home. They may not remember the tension, the silence, or the long path back to peace, but I will remember the lesson clearly. Love cannot be protected by control. Trust cannot grow where truth is hidden. And no object, memory, or longing is worth the cost of losing oneself. Secret my mother left behind did not destroy us. What nearly destroyed us was our refusal to speak openly about what we carried inside. Today, when I see families struggling quietly, I remember our story. I remember how easily affection can turn into attachment, and attachment into fear. Remember that healing begins the moment truth is welcomed without defense. Your home remains simple. Our marriage remains steady. Our relationship with Ifeananya remains honest. Nothing extraordinary surrounds usually daily choices, patience, clarity, and respect. If there is one thing I now believe fully, it is this: peace does not come from removing every problem. Peace comes from facing what is real together, and that is how our family survived the secret that almost broke us.